Hello and welcome back to my favorite crafty things for 2020. This is a series where I look at the previous year's products and make some recommendations. I kind of create a curated list of products that are fun to look at. Now today is all about product bundles. So these are either stamps and dies, stamps, dies, and stencils, different things you can buy together that work really well. Now, if you're new to this series, please check out my information video, which I'll link here at the top right. Also, keep in mind throughout this video, I will be sharing photos of cards I've done in the past using particular products. Below, with each of those product names, there will be links to those products and to those videos. So this isn't just about shopping and looking at products. It's also about getting ideas for products that you may have that are similar and ways to use them. So I spend a lot of time doing those video links, so be sure to check them out if you can. I'm hoping that's helpful. Also, I wanted to ask again to give a little grace to the different small businesses that I may link to. They're all struggling to get products in stock too. They are struggling with mail. There are so many issues that are all piling up right now, making it hard to keep products in stock. So just take a note if you see something that you might like, or just enjoy doing a little window shopping looking for inspiration. Also, keep in mind that I do link to multiple sources for finding the products, so you can look for those too. Okay, so let's dive into product bundles for 2020. These are great products I think are best bought together. This is the Waffle Flower Essential Sentiment Stamp Set. You can buy these stamps and dies separately. But the reason I like the dies that are available for this stamp set is they cut out the greetings nice and close, so you can easily add them onto your card wherever you want. Here's an example of thank you. You can see how, because you have the die to cut it out tight, you can easily add it anywhere. Now, I did a card using the Merry Christmas, but look at the sentiments in here. Pretty much covers all the basic sentiments you could need throughout a year. So there is the Merry Christmas, but the rest are year-round. Also, I use the thank you and the keeping you in my prayers quite a bit for the cards that I mass produce. So having the coordinating die is very helpful. Here I didn't use the coordinating die, I just used the hello along with another sentiment that I stamped underneath it to add more to it. There are many ways you can use this particular set, and I feel like it's the best all-around set of 2020. Okay, next we have another from Waffle Flower. This is the Oversized Hello, which you can buy either together or separately. There are other words that are oversized similar to this, such as hugs, but I feel hello is a very universal sentiment, and you can team other sentiments with it in a sentiment strip. So here is one where I used just the die itself, along with a different sentiment strip. I do like the sentiments in the stamp set also to add below the large word, and you can use the large hello stamp and the large hello die together or separately. I love the die, so large it fills a card nicely, and you could just do a basic background behind it. Okay, next we have from CZ Design the Clean Line Gratitude Stamp Set, which I have used a lot. This is another one that I like the coordinating dies to go with it because it cuts out the words nice and tight, so you can add them to a card anywhere. Also, there are small little sentiments you can add on strips underneath, so you can build up a sentiment or use the smaller sentiments on the inside of the card. Here's an example where I used the die to cut out the word grateful to add on top of a die cut cluster, and then did a little sentiment strip underneath. By having dies that cut the word out tight, you don't have to leave it on like a large rectangle piece, so you cover less of what's behind it. I'm really liking this one from Technique Tuesday, and I'll be using it in a video soon. It's called Lots of Sentiments, and this again is one of those that covers a lot of different sentiments that you could use throughout the year. And the font style is one that you could use with a lot of different styles of cards. Now the die set that you could get to go with it, together or separately, has these little label dies with the inside faux stitching, so you can cut out all these different sentiments and add them to your card. There are also the little slot dies, a few different variations, so you can turn that little label into a tag to add to your card. Another way you can use these. So again, you can use the stamps and dies together or separately. Besides hello, another sentiment that I think can work for a lot of occasions is thinking of you. This is from Hero Arts. These are actually sold together. So you have the die and the stamp that are the same size, and you can see how it fits on a regular 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch note card over there on the right. There are also the little sentiments that can be stamped along with the main greeting. Now, I have used this one a lot as a focal point on a card. Here's an example where I die cut it from gold cardstock and put it right over a window. I like the size of this sentiment and the style because it fills a card nicely, as you can see here. It's the focal point. However, it's not so bold that you can't see what's behind it. You can still see that scene behind it. So I've used this one a lot and recommend it if you're looking for a basic sentiment that can be used for many occasions. Okay, so I encourage you to check out the different stamps and dies available from PhotoPlay. They have a whole line of stamp sets that have a main word, such as friend here, and then also lots of little sub-sentiments that go with it. Then they have a die set that has that same word in the same size that cuts out the word and the shadow for it. So they work together really well. They have thanks, blessings, hello, you name it, they've got it. And I really liked the friend one. I like the sentiments in it and the style of this. Each one has a bit of a different style. So if you're looking for good basic sentiment stamp sets and coordinating dies, check out what they have to offer. But the friend one is definitely my favorite. You can see some of the fun things you can build up here, such as you're an inspiration friend. I thank heaven for a friend like you. I married my best friend. You make my heart happy friend. And they have some serious sentiments and some playful ones too, which really makes it even better. I'll be using this in an upcoming video, so stay tuned for that. Okay, one stamp set and die set that I used a heck of a lot this year is the Honeybee Paper Hugs. Back when COVID started, I made loads of cards using these that I ended up sending out to doctors and nurses and hospital staff. So we have the 6x6 set on the left, and you can see the big heart with the arms giving it a hug. Then there is the coordinating die set that cuts out that heart, a heart a little bit bigger, and the arms. So you could use the dies and stamp together or separately. I also use the sentiments in this stamp set a lot for encouragement cards and also to stamp on the coordinating envelope. I made a bunch of cards like the one you see here. This I made some paper built up of scraps of cardstock that I cut into hexagon shapes. I then die cut that paper into a bunch of hearts, added the arm and the sentiment. You could just use pattern paper there or scraps of maybe an alcohol ink background or something you have left over. Here I did a striped heart, and I took the same hands, and instead of hugging the heart, I had them holding. So that's another way that you can use this stamp set and die set creatively. This bundle definitely kind of defines 2020 and our need to kind of support each other, but I bet I'll be using it a lot throughout this next year too. Okay, the next bundle that I really like is from Trinity Stamps, and it's not a stamp set. There is a die, and then there are stencils. This die covers an A2 card, but they also have the same style die for a slimline card if you prefer that. Now you can see it does this quilted pattern with the die. It does the little piercing for that faux stitch pattern. What's really clever about this bundle that you can buy together separately is the stencils that go with it. One does dots, one does hearts, and one does stars. And you can see the engraved line to help you line it up with either this die or the slimline die. So what you can do is die cut a background with the die, line up the stencil, and then do like embossing paste or just inking over it to add a heart, dot, or star pattern into that quilting that you get from the die. You can also shift it and repeat it. You can build up a colorful background with this. I plan to kind of build a rainbow of stars going across by shifting and inking and shifting and inking. So I'll do that in a video soon. Now, I will say Trinity Stamps does do a good job offering different products in both the A2 size or slimline, which works great for slimline cards or bigger card sizes. So you can look at whichever you might prefer to use. Okay, here we have from Honeybee the Buffalo Plaid stamp, and then there's the die. And they actually also have layering stencils that you can use with this. I like this because you can build layer to your plaid look. And this buffalo plaid is a great way to either do a bold background, maybe black and white, or you can do tone on tone. Now I did one that I haven't used on a card video yet, but I mass produced a bunch of these back in the spring. Here I did just a soft pool ink on a white cardstock. And when you put that on a white cardstock or white note card, you get a little bit of dimension and that soft plaid. It's really a beautiful combination, and you can do some fun offset patterns with it too. Okay, next up we have the Simon Says stamp, center cut hexagon background stamp. Then there's also the clear stamp set and a die. So on the background stamp, the center comes out, so you could do it as a full background or leave an opening in the center to add one of these greetings. Then there is the die that will cut out that same size hexagon. So all of these can be used together or separately. I especially like the clear stamp, that the sentiments are in hexagons, or you could even use a circle to die cut some of them. And they're easy to add on to any technique background you may do on a card to have that sentiment as a focal point. Here are some examples of some cards I've done. Here I didn't use the background stamp, I just used the sentiment and the hexagon die that goes with it. So I was able to create a fun technique-y background, add a sentiment, and I was good to go. On this one, I did a fun technique with the background stamp. Then I used the hexagon die in the center and used a different sentiment on it. So it's nice to be able to use these all together or separately to really get your money's worth out of the product bundles. I absolutely love this next bundle from Concord and Ninth called Stitched Blooms. Now you can buy these together or separate. What I really like is that they stand on their own really well, but they also work together really well. I like the style of the sentiments in the stamp set, which is smaller, so it has a good price point. Then you have these label dies with the faux stitching or faux piercing on the inside edge that can be used with these stamps or others. Then you have the word love and thanks that you can use individually. But my favorite part of that die set is this stitched die. So this doesn't cut any shapes, it just does that stitch pattern in whatever cardstock you use it with. Now you can use it on the bottom of a card or do it twice, once on the top and once on the bottom. And I'm crazy about this die. Here is one example where I just used the Thinking of You sentiment silver heat embossed, and I use that die to cut it out and then the other label die to layer it to give it a fun label look. On this one, I used the Miss You sentiment and I used the long stitched label. And what's nice about this is the sentiment kind of is anchored with those flowers because I used that long label and extended it there. In this example, I used just the stitching die. So you can see I used it over an alcohol ink background to add the detail to it. So say you have an inked background that's kind of plain and you want to add some interest, this die is great for that. And here's another example where I did the same thing. Okay, here is a bundle where I really like the stencils alone, the layering set stencils, but it also goes very well with the stamp set and the coordinating dies. You can use these stencils alone to create beautiful inked flowers by layering each of those little images up. There are a couple different flowers and a few different leaves. Here's the stamp set. It's upside down, but that's the stamp set, and you can see how it has the outline for those flowers and leaves. So you can stamp it and then use the stencils to color them in. Or you can skip the stamping and just use the stencils alone. I like that companies are doing these layering stencils because stencils have a great price point, and so we can do more with them too. There are many ways you can use stencils creatively, and they're easy to line up. So there is a coordinating die set available also for this stamp set and stencil set. So all of these, once again, you can buy separately or together as a bundle. So here's an example where I stamped, stenciled, and die cut the flower and leaves. So I used all three parts of the bundle. But here is the same where I did not use this stamping. So I have a softer looking flower that's done just by inking over the stencil. If you like the look of layered images but struggle with lining up stamp images, I would encourage you to try out layering stencils. Okay, next we have from Concord and Ninth the In Blooms stamp set and the coordinating stencils. Now I used this one off screen to make a set of note cards for my mom for Christmas, but I haven't used it in a video yet and I hope to soon. But I like the style of these flowers because they look beautiful even without coloring added to it. So you could just do quick inking if you prefer. So there's the coordinating die set that's also available, and here are the stencils. The stencils allow you to color in very quickly or ink in the different parts of the flowers and leaves. But there's also a stencil that allows you to mask off the flowers to ink up a striped background, which I think is really brilliant. Now here is one of the stencils that colors in different parts of the image. So you can just line it up with your image, add ink over it to color in those flowers. You could use multiple colors if you wanted to, and you could even do like a glimmer paste over the flowers. So by having these stencils that allow you to color images and mask off images, you can do some really cool techniques. That way, when you use the product again and again, you get a different look each time. Now I got this image from Concord and 9th. They said that I could share it here, and you can see how stencils were used to color in those flowers, leaves, and do the striped background. So you can create a beautiful one-layer card just using the stamp set and stencils. Now this set I used for a lot of mass producing of cards back in the spring, and it is incredible. It's from the Greetery. It's called Fresh Floral. There's a stamp set, there's dies, and then there are stencils, and the stencils are used to color in parts of the image. Here's the instructions. Now those first 2 steps are done with the stencils. Then the next step is done with stamps. So you can create a beautiful, colorful background that really can be different depending on what colors or techniques you do each time. There's a lot of detail stamps there too, so you can end up with something really special. There are also at the bottom of the stamp set just individual flowers that you can use as accents on the card. I've been wanting to do a video with this layering set and some of the others from the Greetery, and I hope to soon. But this one, I can tell you, it's just one of those well thought out products where the bundle all works so well together. Another from the Greetery that I think is just brilliant is the Pinwheel Party Bundle. Now, these you can buy separate or together, and I did a video where I made loads of examples, so be sure to check that out because it is fun. Now you can use the stencils alone to create a beautiful layered, but one layer, layers of ink, but not paper. Create a one-layer card with lots of colors. Now this works great for parties or anniversaries or weddings. Sky's the limit with this. There is also a stamp set that has sentiments that work well with it. It's a small set, so good price point, and a die set. I personally just purchased the stencils and the dies for this, and I thought those work great together alone. Now here are just some examples from the video that I did showing the many ways you can use these. I encourage you to check it out because it really is just a purely well-designed stamp set, die set, and stencils. Another bundle that I had so much fun playing with this year is from Altenew. It's called the Spheres and Spiral Bundle. There's a stamp set, die set, and you can use them together or separately. But it reminds me of that spirograph that I loved so much as a kid. And you can stamp all of these in different colors and create something really colorful very quickly. And then the dies also can be used to add layers. Here's an example of one that I did with all blues and silvers. I'm hoping that Altenew does some more sets like this in the future. Another great bundle from Altenew is the Mandala Maker and Confetti set. So you have the stamp set, and then you have a die that makes all these little confetti pieces. Now I have used this off screen with the dies. So basically in the stamp set, there are those circles that you see. And those circles, I'll show close in a moment, are made up of evenly spaced dots. What I do is I stamp that circle on my cardstock with light color ink. Then I use those dots to help me place those little die cuts in a perfect pattern around a circle. I layer those die cuts. I've done one with hearts that are rainbow. Sky is the limit with this. I've even used some holly leaf dies that I had that are tiny to do a wreath using those dots as a guide. You could also stamp all the little hearts and dots if you wanted to. But this just allows you to create a beautiful circle pattern on the back of a card. Now again, I haven't done a video with this. I just used it for some cards I made for fun. If you want to see a video showing how to use this, let me know in the comments below because I could put one together because I think it's just really well thought out. And you can use any small dies or stamps you already have in your collection to do so. Now you could definitely draw your own guidelines instead of using this dot circle pattern, but it really does save quite a bit of time, makes it super easy. All right, there are my favorite product bundles for 2020. For links to these products, multiple sources, I have them in my YouTube description below, along with links to the videos and ideas of cards that I shared throughout this video. You can also head over to my blog where I have a lot more information. It's much easier to follow. I will be back very soon with more of my favorite crafty things. I think I'll probably cover die cut machines next because I get a lot of questions about that. Thanks for watching. In the middle here are a couple of my other favorite crafty things videos. I appreciate you spending the time with me. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you again soon.